Alright, my video's been out there a couple hours. Probably see if there's been any, sort of good feedback. Read some comments here. Let's see. Getting seasick, need a tripod. You can edit cuts between the close-ups of the card and the actual test. All right, hey everybody. Again, probably just gonna do another brief video about something that's just kind of Apple II related, but mostly kind of 2GS related, that I've just found of interest, and it's been something that I've been working on for the last, like, who knows how long, trying to find the best solution that's gonna work for me. Okay, so here's what I got. Everybody knows that the 2GS can output RGB video, and RGB video is sort of the gold standard for like retro gaming and things like that. You want to try to get the best signal you can out as possible so you can get the best experience. Now, trust me, I've got somewhere floating around an original RGB CRT for the 2GS, and that is going to be your like ideal retro experience to use that display. However, sometimes that's not always convenient. Like if you're like, hey, I want to buy a 2GS and I want to hook it up to like a display, obviously, but not a television. But I live somewhere weird and I don't want to pay a bunch of shipping, and people are doofuses on shipping anyway. So you end up with something that's broke, and then you're just disappointed, and it's one fewer RGB 2GS monitor in the world. Okay, so what do? You're in that situation. Well, there's a couple of different things, and there's a really cool new card that's like the Vid HD. It's kind of a pricey option for somebody in my kind of tax bracket, but that gives you like straight HDMI output, and it's all like captured off the bus, so it's like kind of rekajiggered to kind of make it just the cleanest signal possible, but it's emulated. Emulated is a bad word. It's simulated, maybe, because it uses that little Cyclone. Maybe it's not Cyclone, but it's some sort of FPGA, field programmable gate array, to try to kind of pull that video stuff out of the stream, off the CPU or whatever, off the bus, and then convert that into video. That's great. That's an engineering marvel. A+ to the people that put that together. However, if we've already got RGB in the 2GS, why don't we just get the RGB out of the 2GS and put it onto a modern display? Okay, so that's where these solutions come in. Some better than others. But this is kind of this was my path of evolution in this project. So I'm just going to take you to the very beginning. Okay, now, the first solution that I cannot not recommend enough, any of these goofy arcade cabinet cards. And these kind of came on the market like a while back. These have been around forever. Let's say that. For basically arcade cabinets that use like CGA, EGA inputs, because, those displays are dying and getting harder and harder to find, or the ones that are out there have burn-in, or people just don't want to deal with like rebuilding a arcade monitor. So what you did is you took your really nice Donkey Kong cabinet and you stuck a widescreen LCD in there, so that way that you could keep charging people $0.25 and try to recoup the price on that Black Friday monitor you bought. But what this does is this will take kind of off this connector right here, or off of this one right here. This is kind of what you might see like in a CGA cabinet, sort of like I don't know, what's a good example? Like Galaxian or something, kind of that era. And what it'll do is it'll take that input, and this is just like, you can read it on there. It's RGB, it's sync, and then there's like a ground connection. So it'll take that, and then it uses this little processor on here to kind of upscale everything to, the correct scan 32 kilohertz from 15 kilohertz. Is that correct? So I'm probably wrong, and feel free to correct me. But it scan converts everything up, so that way that it's the right resolution for modern, or not resolution, pardon, refresh rate for modern displays. So like the 2GS and a lot of like CGA and like older displays and stuff kind of all share that like 15 kilohertz or 17. Anyway, you guys will correct me. Converts all that refresh up to something that modern displays can handle. Now, what this does, terribly, mind you, is it does screen capture, and I'd show you on the 2GS, but it makes no sense because, I mean, you've got displays and timings with like the camera and things like that. So to make this simple, if you have ever had like a viscous sort of like you've ever done the non-Newtonian fluid kind of thing with cornstarch and all that, and you can kind of like put your hand through it and it kind of smears and then fills back in. That's what this looks like. Any kind of like movement on the display, you'll get it and it looks kind of sharp, but then you start seeing movement and things smear. Imagine playing a game like Arkanoid with this. It's almost unplayable because you can't really track where the ball is going to be. So it's kind of slow, and it introduces like a lot of interference in the signal. And I'm not sure that it's just my unit. I've heard this from other people too. I mean, I have like a really nice HAP power supply for this, so I wasn't trying to like power it with like a iPhone adapter or something like that, but you could. It just needs 5 volts in. So anyway, something like this, not so great. I mean, but if in a pinch, yeah, I mean, these things are pretty cheap, but these other options are cheap too. So forget that. All right. Then you've got kind of what used to be the new hotness, but now the old hotness, I guess, or old notness, are these like RGB scan converter boxes that use SCART. And SCART didn't get a lot of play in the US. So if you're somewhere else in the world, congratulations, because you guys really lucked out, especially in European nations or European countries with EuroSCART, which is kind of the standard for all the retro gaming stuff. What you'll see is there's a couple different people that make these cables online. I think like even the Retro Cables in the UK makes it. There's a gentleman out of Australia that makes it. There's a gentleman that's like in Spain that makes it. And I think this is the one that I got from the guy in Spain. Yeah, Retro Cables. But and this cable's really nice. I've hooked it up to other displays, and that'll take the same refresh rate as the 2GS, and it looks really, really great, like a CRT. But these boxes are kind of hit or miss, and it's mostly, you can tell by the dust, like exactly how much use I've given this thing after I experimented with it. These boxes, and there's a ton of them, and they all look exactly the same. But what people say is, you gotta get the one that's got the heat sink on the chip inside. And I don't know how maybe you're Superman. You can like look through the box before you buy it. But there was somebody online that kind of said, no, this is it. I bought this exact one. It was the right one. So I bought one. It was like 30 or 40 bucks or something like that. It might have been less. It's been a little while with shipping. But anyway, this box, basically what it does is it's not just like one of those $5 kind of like analog input to digital converters. This is kind of more like an LCD TV. So the actual scaler and stuff in here kind of does a little bit better job than something that, like some of those cheaper solutions. But it's still not great, and you will get some video noise. And on the 2GS especially, there's sometimes chatter. So you'll be sitting there and like everything is solid on the desktop, and like your icon's kind of like bleep, 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 bleep. Like it looks like they're kind of like shimmering a little bit. And I can only put that down to the scaler, and you can turn it off and turn it back on, and sometimes it'll come back. These things they've got like a couple of different things. So switching it even to 720 mode, not too great. But this is all based around the idea that you are going to use something that is like a 16:9 display, because you think like 720p, 1080p. So you hook up like a 16:9 display, and then you have to put it in like normal or like fixed or normal mode or something, where it kind of like bloop, like brings it back to 4:3. And so now you're dealing with not only the scaler in here, you're dealing with like some manipulation inside whatever your display is. And between those two things, it just doesn't give you the best results, in my opinion. And the other thing is, you buy this doodad, and the power brick they give you, this thing, it's black air. It weighs nothing. So the first thing that everybody recommends is you just throw this away, and use get an aftermarket thing that's got the right kind of polarity. It's just 5-volt. So it's pretty easy. You could hook this up if you've got a HAP or a bench power supply. You can hook it up and do whatever. Okay, so now let's get rid of the not so great solutions. Okay, so this is what I go with now, and this is really where it's at. This is the Extron. This is our RGB 300A. Yeah, it's Extron RGB 300A, and what this does is basically, this is like an old school sort of scan converter that you would see kind of more in industry, your college or something like that, or some business that had money at the time to kind of spend on a solution like this, because these were expensive when they were new, but now they're cheap because everybody's just dumping them on eBay, because nobody needs that. You've got modern displays, you've got stuff that scan converts. You don't need something that'll take all these old signals, even though this one doesn't officially take, to my knowledge, 15 or 17 kilohertz. Instead, what this will do is it will just deal, assuming that you're using the right cables. So the way that I have this hooked up, and here's the power brick for it. And it's kind of funny because this is all kind of industrial equipment. So you've got your power brick, and it just goes over and it just feeds 12 volts through this, this little cable adapter thing into the back. Okay, so how do you hook this up into the 2GS? Well, it's pretty easy. If you've got a RGB, a 2GS RGB cable already, you've got most of what you need. The only thing you need after that is you need this very specific Macintosh, because again, the input here on the back is just RGBS. This is a VGA port on the back of this. A VGA port input, HDMI output, and you got some controls and stuff here on the front. Okay, so what this will do is this little adapter, it's got the correct pins that move red, green, blue, horizontal, or sync on, not sync on green, but the composite sync, moves those to the correct pins that this scalar box is looking for. And I kind of fretted on that, because on the 2GS, the actual port on the back has all the stuff where it'll pass -5 volts and stuff across the monitor connection. And that's a problem if you've got a piece of equipment that is in no way set up to take -5 volts across this anything. But thankfully, on the 2GS itself, those signals are present at the port, but they are not present in the cable. And you can look at pinouts and stuff online that will show you exactly what these pins do. But I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on that 2GS video port, it's got sound out and some other little goofy things that, there might have been displays or devices and stuff that took advantage of that, but nothing I'm doing does. So this little video adapter is, and there's a bunch of different models of it. This is a 7-4660055 059 or 069. Oh Lord. Oh wait, you have to read it the correct way. It's 590-0337-A. That's hilarious. And what this adapter does is it's got a Macintosh, which looks like the port for the 2GS, looks like it, but this right here, it's wired in such a manner that it routes all the stuff. This, I think if you look at online, it's like a quote PowerBook Mac monitor adapter, some kind of dealy bob, because way back in the day you could hook your PowerBook up to a VGA monitor, or I'm sorry, you could hook your PC up to your Mac monitor for whatever reason. I guess if you just wanted to fool your friends into thinking you had a better PC than you did. But anyway, this routes all the stuff correctly, and it just works. So everything ends up where it needs to be. So when you turn it on, things don't catch on fire, which is always great. So now you're saying, okay, so it's got HDMI on the back, and that's fine. But where do you find a 4x3 LCD that's got HDMI on the back? And to my knowledge, those are few and far between. So what you do is you just get one of these very basic DVI to HDMI adapters. You plug one of those into the back of your monitor. You plug the HDMI cable into that, and boom, it just works. So that is where I'm at today. And the video and stuff looks really good. I think that it's probably the best option for me. It's the least amount of hardware. All this stuff can be sourced, like the Extron box, the power supply, the adapter. If you've already got like the 2GS video cable, you're good to go. And like an HDMI cable and this adapter. I think like all this was maybe under $50. So, and even you might be like, oh my gosh, $50. But this is kind of a pricey hobby anyway. So I don't think $50 is all that bad, because I probably spent that on like this card alone way back, when I bought this. So with shipping and everything else and cables and all kinds of stuff to play around with. So anyway, that's kind of what I got for tonight. Thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate your feedback, and have a wonderful evening, and Apple II forever.